Happy New Year. I'm RYCJ and I am back sharing my top 10 favorite books read this year. For anyone who doesn't know me, I am a fiction writer, but I primarily read nonfiction, memoirs, and biographies and the likes. I find that, and I probably said it before, reading that genre is the best way to learn about each other. So things are going to be going a little bit different this time around because I don't have my books to share. I'm in a different space, but I do have my trustee list, which first, and this is going in no particular order, but first on my list is Connie by Connie Chung. As a child, I so admired Connie, so to see her memoir, I just knew I had to read it. And I didn't expect her to be so feisty, talking about her career and what it was like working as a journalist back in the day. I'm thinking like the 60s and 70s. And then, I came across Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. And I'd seen this book, actually a while ago, and I kept saying to myself, oh, I wonder what that's about. It's just, for some reason, it just looked interesting. And then I heard J.D. Vance speaking at the RNC, and I said, I got to get that book. He's talking about a part of American culture that's not often talked about. Very interesting book. I highly recommend, if you haven't checked that out already. A Man from Another Land by Isaiah Washington. Oh my goodness, Isaiah is talking about the ancestors and his ancestors and these trips to Africa. Very, very interesting. Highly recommended. Black Privilege by Charlemagne the God. Oh my God. That book is that's high entertainment reading. That's one of the ones that you can, page for page is a page turner, and I highly recommend it. Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. I have to say, Elon definitely had to approve this one because it reads so transparent. Of course, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's a good one. And then there's Will by Will Smith. I totally didn't expect Will to reveal so much of himself, I was really touched by his book, and I definitely have to say, yes, the dream comes first to everything. And then there was Top Billing by Bill Bellamy. I remember some of the movies he played in the 90s. I see his book and I said, let me check this one out. And I was really, really, really pleased by the way he presented himself in his book. Definitely enjoyable, easy on the eyes, redemptive, all that. I highly recommend it. And then there's Not Without My Daughter by Betty Mahmoudi. I saw the movie. And in the literary world, we always say, the book is always better than the movie, but I've never actually tried it until this particular time. So I remembered the movie, get the book, and oh my goodness, the book has to be 1,000 times more visual. The way Betty relays what happened to her and her daughter and, going to Iran, what it started to be like a vacation. Highly recommend reading the book if you haven't. And then Bullwhip Days, edited by James Mellon. Oh, this book, I don't know, wanted to kick myself for the review or the thoughts I left on this book because the deeper message for me or premise in this book is the two opposing views of these slave narratives that are shared by ex-slaves who I believe they were the remaining slaves that gave their stories, which ended up being edited. I can't remember the year that they said these slave narratives were narrated. But at any rate, they're like two opposing views on slavery in these narratives. I just suggest really reading it. On one side, I get to hear from slaves who are talking about how they didn't want slavery to end. They liked their masters, their bosses, where they were living, the food, the protection that they were getting for that day and time. But then, of course, the opposing view was, as one slave says, anyone who was okay with slavery definitely didn't have masters like they did. And this is on the other side. And it kind of reminds me of a little bit today, some people, yep, they're okay with this or that, you know, but then there are others who are saying, no, it's not okay. That is definitely a good book to examine, to read those narratives. And finally, I have The Undiscovered Paul Robeson by Paul Robeson Jr., his son. Oh my goodness, I remember as a child telling my father about books that I was reading, you know, this assigned reading in school, and he was telling me, oh no, you need to read Paul Robeson. And, you know, I heard of Paul Robeson, but I, you know, wasn't assigned reading. I hadn't read his work. And up until, you know, until I read this book, which his son does a superb job explaining his life story. Oh my goodness, that is a book to check out. So until next year, I hope everyone has had a wonderful 2024. Looking forward to this year, 2025. Everyone, Happy New Year.